I am Anita Bowser. Today is December 19th, 2024. And can you tell me your name?
My name's Gil Gilson.
Gil Gilson. And Gil, how long have you lived in this community?
Pretty much my whole life. I've been between Newcastle and Butler. When we were younger, we always came to Butler instead of Newcastle, it seemed like. But,
So what are some of your earliest memories of a library?
I remember when we were kids, I'm guessing 10 or 12 years old, and our big thing, like we went to the big city, meaning Newcastle at the time, for the dentist appointments and that kind of stuff, doctors and whatever. And my mom would have taken me to the old 2 or 3 story building in Newcastle at the time. And I don't know, I started reading these adventure stories, of out west and cowboys and Indians and that kind of stuff. And I still remember that now, the books I read. And it probably got me interested in it because I read all Lewis L'Amour stuff. And I think he has, I don't know, there was a couple hundred books maybe, because my buddy was just telling me he bought the hardback. So he has them all, he said. And he said there's a couple hundred.
I know there are a lot of them.
And I keep rereading them now. I'll put my initials and a date in them now so I know when I read them. A lot of times it's 10, 12 years I haven't read them. I read them again. I sort of remember, and they always have a good outcome, but I still enjoy reading them because they're simple read. You don't have to think a whole lot. Right now I'm reading a Grant book that's about 3 inches thick.
It's about Grant.
Yeah. And my brother had it, and he took quite a while, months to read it. And I'm almost an inch through it, so I figure I'm almost a third. And it's been good ever since the beginning. Assuming it's about his whole life and the things he went through before the Civil War and during the Civil War is where I'm at now when he's in the middle of the war. And I'm sure there's a lot of chapters on, when he was president and the issues he had because he had a rough upbringing and didn't have support of some of his in-laws. And even during the beginning of the war, there was a lot of political things going on behind the scenes, and he wasn't that type of a political person, so he kind of just had to go with the flow, and then of course he became, the most important general really in the Civil War when it comes right down to the end. So it's always good to read a lot of books.
Do you read a lot of biographies?
I read a lot of Jeff Shaara stuff, and there's a name for the types of books he reads or he writes. It's sort of historical history.
Fiction.
Fiction. Yeah, but it's like you're right there. It's like the people are talking, and I've read his books on the Korean War and World War II. And there's a lot of different ones that he wrote between him and his father. His father wrote Killer Angels, and then he come along and I think his dad died actually. He died, and then Jeff Shaara, I met him once down at Gettysburg, I know. He signed one of my books. And they're all interesting. I haven't really read any of them that weren't, you felt like you were right there, listening to the conversations between people,
Yeah.
So,
Do you ever come to any programs at the library?
no, I haven't done that. No.
So now primarily you visit the library for books? Or?
Mostly books.
Yeah.
I visit my sweetheart too.
Linda.
So, yeah, so, and so, see, she knows what I read, so she'll find books. I mean, I read some Patterson books, and I read some World War II stories. I mean, I used to come to the library when I was in my 20s. I would have been laid off, occasionally in wintertime. And I remember coming to the Butler Library just to read magazines and just to get out of the house partly, and sort of be in a social setting. But I would come in and read the magazines off the shelf then too. I remember doing that.
Have you noticed changes in the library over time?
Not, I mean, now I sort of know some of the inner workings of the library that I wouldn't have known anything about before. I mean, I worked for the state in my career, so you can kind of understand why things are the way they are and why they have to happen a certain way. But other than that, no, I haven't. Well, there are things like audiobooks and stuff. I mean, I have rented audiobooks before when I'm traveling, and it helps keep you awake, and it can just, the time can fly by if you're reading, and if you're listening to an interesting book.
Yeah. It's just a story.
Yeah, yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to say about the library?
No, I think it's a valuable asset, I know, to the community. There's a lot of people come here. I mean, there's some people that don't have good homes that I'm sure come and spend some time here just to get away from their situations. The weather, whether it's so hot in the summer, people come, I'm sure, and just to get out of the heat for a while. That's a valuable service, same as the wintertime. As far as people coming and spending some time here, and that's really what it's for. Besides the reading, and of course now you do have your computers and stuff that we never had before, and people need to get on the computers for applying for jobs or communicating with people, and sometimes they don't know how to use the technology, and there are people here that can help with that. Which is a good thing. So that's a good asset for the community, for the city.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.